What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Just a guy on my lunch break is back doing a quick Sunday video here with you. First thing I would like to talk about, I get ideas from you guys in the comments quite often from my subscribers, and then I will expand on those ideas. So there's one thing I would like to talk about is the first step in any 12-step program, which is admittance or admittal, admitting that you have an issue with your addiction. Now, I don't really get on here, and I'm not currently in a 12-step program. I'm not saying that's a smart choice. Probably should be. Because that support, I think that outside support definitely for a lot of people is going to be very instrumental and paramount in continuing to stay clean for longer periods of time. But with all of that said, I talked a little bit about yesterday how, from time to time I'll get people to jump on the channel and, hey, why are you hating on Kratom? Again, this is paraphrased, but I'll get people come on, what's wrong with Kratom? Taking a little bit of Kratom every day is no different than, a social drinker having a couple of drinks every night. And they're not wrong about that, okay? And I have talked tirelessly on this channel about, it's not about the substance of Kratom, right? Kratom is a plant. Kratom is a plant, much like marijuana. It is naturally grown and found and cultivated in certain areas of the world. So the plant itself, the substance itself, is not inherently a bad thing. Now, the adulterated forms of it, I think sometimes get a little bit shaky when you start talking about the extracts and the things that these, entrepreneurs and what do you call them? Not ingenious, ingenuity. I guess it is ingenious. What these people are doing as far as, the ingenuity and finding new ways to incorporate Kratom into different products and then make them stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, to where at some point it's adulterated, meaning touched by human hands and altered by human hands enough to where eventually you're barely dealing with Kratom anymore, and you've got this isolated, 7-hydroxyzine, and then it's got this other stuff mixed in it to help potentiate the effects of the Kratom and all this stuff. So at some point it gets to where, it's not really just the Kratom anymore. It's not just the plant anymore, right? Anyway, I digress. And then on top of that, it gets to the point of how are you using it, right? And I talk about that quite a lot on here. And, I don't have to defend myself, but I do defend myself sometimes simply because I want people to know my position and my stance on it. Why is that important? Well, that's important because if I can get across to them what my position and stance is, maybe it'll help them to adopt and wrap their head around, a better, accurate understanding on their own part. And what I mean by that is, it's not the substance, guys. It's not Kratom. It's not that it's Kratom. I'm not some guy on here, oh, Kratom's bad for everybody. No. Just like alcohol. And there are people that go all day without drinking, and then they come home, and one of the ways they like to relax, have a couple of drinks, have a couple of beers, have a couple of glasses of wine, whatever it is. There are people that are able to do that, right? But now, what if I tell you that there's a person who wakes up first thing in the morning and they already have a bottle of liquor sitting beside their bed, and the first thing they do is take a couple of swigs of liquor to steady their hand because they're, in some sort of major depressive, serious withdrawal state from alcohol because they drink too much. And then on the way to work, they're drinking and driving, and they got alcohol mixed into their coffee or some other drink. And then they're at work, and then after being at work for 2 or 3 hours, they run out to their car and take a swig. You know, there are also people that do stuff like that, right? And so when you start to look at the contrasts between, there's Kratom, the substance, and then there's the way that people use Kratom, the substance. And if you're a person that you go all day without it, no big deal, you're not really thinking about it, you get home every evening, take a few grams of Kratom, it kind of lightens your mood, helps you to relax. You can go to bed, you can sleep fine, then you wake up the next day and you're no worse for wear. You're perfectly fine to get up without your Kratom, go to work, do all of your responsibilities, and then come home that same evening, take a few grams, do the same thing all over again. If you are that person, then I'm likely not talking to you. It is not an addiction for you, right? But, and I can't stress this enough, it's way more about how the substance is used and way less about the substance itself, okay? Kratom's the same as alcohol. You may not have a problem with it, and if that's and if that's you, then you know, you don't probably need to admit to anything. You probably don't have an addiction to it, right? But just like the difference in a social drinker who has a couple of beers in the evenings versus someone who wakes up and the first thing they do is take a swig of liquor by their bed, Kratom also has a full spectrum of users. You have people that, yeah, they can take it once a day in the evening, or a little bit, you know, they can take a little bit in the morning to kind of get with their coffee to get their energy going a little bit, and then they don't go back to it the rest of the day. There are people like that out there. I think they're few far in between. I think most people are using it on a more regular, consistent basis. But if you're ever to fix anything, you must be honest with yourself. And honesty is the first step in admitting that maybe you do have a problem. And Kratom, just like alcohol, if you're a person who have gotten to a point where you're taking it all the time, like I was, you take it first thing in the morning, few hours go by, you're wanting to take it again, a few hours go by, you want to take it again, you know, and if you start getting into this sort of pattern and cycle and mindset, then you may need to step back and look at it. And again, drug addiction is the only disorder that has to be self-diagnosed. No one else can tell you. They can tell you, but it's not going to make a difference in your world until you admit it yourself, because we have this thing as humans that we lie to ourselves and we are delusional to ourselves to a point where if you don't admit that you have a problem, and if you are lying to yourself and saying that you don't have a problem when you actually do, then what do you have to fix? Nothing, right? If I don't have a problem, I don't have a reason to go out and fix it. And no one can make that decision for you. You know, that is a self-diagnosable, internal, subjective decision. Now, there may be an objective fact that a million other people can look at you and say, oh, this motherfucker's an addict, for sure. Yet still, if you haven't admitted it, it doesn't matter in your world, right? You have to be the one to admit to that, to see that there may be a need for you to change it, right? So when people talk about the substance on here and think I'm this Kratom hater or anything, I'm absolutely not. I don't think the plant itself is evil. I don't think there's necessarily anything inherently bad about Kratom, and I know that it does have some benefits, but just like anything else, any other substance that we take that is a psychoactive substance, it can cross this threshold to a point where, okay, now the way you're using it is not healthy, not only physically, but emotionally as well. All right. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Is admitting a little bit of self-diagnosis, a little bit of self-awareness. You have to do a little bit of self-inventory about yourself and figure out, are you in that healthy relationship, or has your experience with Kratom crossed over that threshold into, okay, now I think you would consider this addiction. Now it's caused me this negative consequence. Now it's caused me that negative consequence. Or even if it's just, I'm going broke because I'm using it all the time and I'm spending all my money on it, right? It can be any of those things. A negative consequence is a negative consequence. You know, a negative consequence doesn't have to be a specific one, right? There are a plethora of negative consequences that can come along with overuse of a substance or drug addiction, right? Drug abuse. So that's one. The second one is, I had someone mention, I got a guy who's been following me quite a while. He's been following me almost since the beginning. And he's been off of Kratom for about 3 weeks now. And he was saying in his comment, please tell me that this depression lifts. He's going through it. And I get that. And I really felt for him because I've gone through, I can't really say I've gone through it because I'm still going through it. 70 days off, I'm still dealing with some of the depression, right? It hasn't completely gone away. And I just want to say, a couple of quick things about that. And I think a lot of times people are looking for expecting to have this aha moment. You're looking for that aha moment where you're sitting there, 1 second you're in depression, you're thinking about Kratom all the time, you're having cravings, you're like, oh man, what am I gonna do now? This is getting old, I really want to take Kratom, it made me so happy, and now I'm sad, and blah blah blah, this and that and the third. And then the very next second, you're like, a light bulb goes off and you're like, the veil just lifted, and now all of a sudden, okay, cool, I'm good, I'm better now, I'm over it. I don't know about for everyone else, but for me, it's never happened that way. And I don't think it happens that way for many people. I think that it is a slow, gradual progression, and getting to the point where you are back to homeostasis and you are, I guess you could say, healed from your drug addiction in terms of, how your body and your mind has rebounded from the drug use, or your body and your mind going back to homeostasis or baseline. In other words, how it was before you ever started abusing that substance. You understand? Getting to that point, I think, is absolutely subjective, meaning it's different for everyone, but it's also an afterthought. It's not something where you just, all of a sudden the light switch goes off, a veil lifts, and you're just like, oh, sweet, now I'm better. Now, I'm not saying you won't have like breakthrough moments, where, okay, today, especially in the very beginning with acute withdrawals, I mean, you might, let's say day 7 and 8 is really, really, really rough. Well, day 9, you see a significant improvement, sort of thing. Like, okay, now I can see that I'm starting to rebound a little bit, especially physically. I'm not saying you won't have those sort of breakthrough moments here and there, but as far as reaching homeostasis and getting back to where you were prior, where you were before, your baseline you, before you ever started abusing that substance, I think it's more like an afterthought. I think it's slow. I think it's gradual. And I think that practicing patience with yourself is the most important thing, and not expecting and anticipating, oh, well, not not reading the writing on the wall too much and what you read on the internet too much. You know, I'm here, and I know I'm on the internet, but I'm here to tell you it's subjective and it's different for different people. You read this stuff where 3 months is the point. You got to go at least 3 months. And then you read other reports where people say, oh man, I mean, it was a year for me before I started really feeling good again. And then I've heard even people take it even more extreme. Oh, it took me a good couple of years. But I mean, you know, I wouldn't listen to all of that. I think that it is a gradual, slow, progressive process to where at some point you will have an afterthought, or you will think back and you will say, you know what? I think I'm probably good now. You know, and it wouldn't have been an aha moment where a light switch goes off, or all of a sudden the world just gets brighter like somebody lifted a black veil off of your face. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's something you need to be patient with yourself. It's subjective. It's different for every person. Just keep doing all of the natural things that you know to do to help with this, whether it's meditation, whether it's heavy exercise I preach about, whether it's eating healthy, make sure you're getting all your vitamins and minerals, drinking a ton of water, staying hydrated. All of these things play a part in helping you be the best you and helping you be the most healthy. So start adopting those things and adapting your life rather to those things, right? So that's a couple things I had to say. Hope that helps you guys just a little. And I gotta go because I'm here at Lowe's Hardware again. I've been to this place literally probably 40 times in the last few weeks. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you next time. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, tell your story, and like the video. All right, see you guys. Thanks for listening.